Hello once again, Hunger Games fans of old and new. My name is Nick Pell, and as always, this is coming from my white room. Now, this week's book is the last book in the Hunger Games trilogy, entitled Mockingjay. Just a quick warning, there will be some spoilers from the last two books, just so I can talk about the events of this book. And there will be some slight spoilers for this book, just basically talking about how the book starts out. But for the most part, anything else that I say should either be kind of predictable or, yeah, it should just be predictable. So let's begin with characters. First character that we have is the story's main character, Katniss Everdeen. Katniss has now survived 2 Hunger Games. We saw her in the first book called The Hunger Games, in which she volunteered for her sister Prim to participate in the games. Then we saw her in Catching Fire, in which President Snow required all the districts to select past victors of the games to participate in a new games. So she has basically survived her second games, and she is now in the hands of District 13 and the rebels from that place. And she is also, involuntarily at first, the symbol of the rebellion, and that would be a Mockingjay, as has become kind of a popular symbol due to the pin that is on her shirt. Our next main character is Gale Hawthorne. I actually know his last name this time. And he is basically Katniss's best friend, her longest friend. And his role is actually a lot bigger in this book than it has been in the past 2 books, which I was really happy about, because he is helping out District 13 and the rebels. He's basically working with BT and helping come up with different ideas and schemes to defeat the Capitol. We also have Peeta Mellark. After surviving his second Hunger Games alongside Katniss, he has been captured by the Capitol, and that's all you really need to know about him at the start of the book, is that he has basically been captured. We also have Haymitch Abernathy. As usual, Haymitch is kind of a mentor and something of a father figure to Katniss. And he has turned out to be one of the main leaders of the rebellion. Not so much in voice, but he's a main part of it. We also have Finnick Odair, who we first met in Catching Fire, and he is a victor from District 4 a few years ago. He is also in league with the rebellion. And we find him in kind of a similar state as we find Katniss in. I'm not going to really go into that in much detail, I don't think. But they are in 2 similar situations, so I'll just say that. And we also have BT, who we also met in Catching Fire. And he is a winner from District 3. And he's kind of the brains of the whole operation. He's an inventor. He's just a really smart guy. And then we also have Plutarch Heavensby, I think is how you say his name. He was the head game maker in Catching Fire, but it is revealed at the very end of that book that he is actually one of the heads of the rebellion, which was kind of interesting and something that I didn't exactly expect. He starts off the book alongside President Collin and being a major asset to the Rebel Alliance. And then President Collin, as you learn very quickly, is basically the leader behind this whole operation. So, yeah, that is your characters, and we move on to the plot. Now, know right off the bat, if you didn't catch this from the end of Catching Fire, Panem is in full-scale rebellion for the most part. Mockingjay begins very shortly after the events of Catching Fire, in which Katniss is basically rescued after the force field is destroyed due to her little scheme at the end of that. And she starts out Mockingjay witnessing the remnants of District 12. It has been destroyed by the Capitol, as is revealed by Gale at the end of Catching Fire. It's a very emotional thing, and it does become kind of a key factor later in the book. And to start off the book, the Rebel Alliance, mainly including Collin and Plutarch, are desperately trying to get Katniss to be kind of the symbol of this rebellion openly. And because she's kind of become the main person behind it in the eyes of everyone else in all the districts, but she hasn't really accepted the role herself, and until she does that, they can't really move forward at all. So that's how the book kind of starts out, and that part is kind of revealed pretty quickly. And as we all knew was coming, once we knew that a rebellion was in place, this all leads up to basically a big showdown with the Capitol in around the last part of part 2, or almost the full branch of part 3. And it's really cool seeing how the whole thing ends up, because I'm obviously not going to talk about it here. I'll talk about it in the trilogy review right here, somewhere up here. But it's really interesting to see how it happens, because some parts of it could be seen as very unexpected. And like with the other 2 books, that goes very easily through from book 2 to book 3. It does very little explaining. You basically have to have read the past books to understand what's going on in this one, which I like. And it's once again a very quick read. I think I read it in 2 days, because once I get hooked on a book series, I can't really stop myself. And as usual, it is broken into 3 parts, and as this is the last book in the series, it has an epilogue to it. It's about 2 pages long, so nothing really big. Know that, and it is also 390 pages. That's the plot in a nutshell, and we move on to themes. And the first theme is a very easy one to figure out, and that is rebellion. And in terms of rebellion, I'm talking about like what justifies a rebellion, and is it worth it to rebel, and are the sacrifices worth the gains that you get from winning the rebellion or even partaking in it. And we also have slavery, and this could be seen in a number of different ways, but the main way that I see is the thing that Katniss and in some aspects Peeta have been talking about since book 1, and that's that all the districts are basically slaves to the capital. Whether or not they want to admit that, it's a different story, but that's also a key factor. And then also sacrifice. This could go in any number of different ways. We saw this immensely at the end of Catching Fire with all the different tributes attempting to protect Peeta and Katniss. And you do see this in some aspects again in Mockingjay. And then lastly we have truth, and this basically goes into the very end of the novel. I'm not going to talk about it. I'll talk about it in the trilogy review, but know that that is something to look for. And lastly we have enjoyment, and for the most part I really did enjoy this series, and by the series that includes Mockingjay. I felt that it worked really well. It wasn't as action-packed as Catching Fire was, but it still has a really good chunk of action in it. And it ends the series in a very climatic fashion, but not necessarily the way that you would expect it to. But I did feel like the ending worked really well for the most part, and took a somewhat unexpected turn for the series at the end. And the characters worked well too. We got to see, like I said, in the character section, we got to see Gale and Katniss interacting a lot more in this book, since they're actually together now, not as a couple, but they're around each other for once. So that's kind of cool to see. And the book itself is very unlike the past two, because I'm just going to say this, I don't know if it's a spoiler or not, but there are no Hunger Games in the traditional fashion in this book. Peeta and Katniss don't get dragged into a third Hunger Games tournament or anything like that. But in a way there is a games, but it's not in the traditional sense. And yet it does still keep that survival feel, which I feel like the series has kind of become known for. In all 3 books I did feel this, and I really came to expect it. But as with the Song of Ice and Fire series, I am very sad to see this one end. It took me about a week to get through the whole thing, and I wish there was more. But it does end very well, and I am pleased to say that I did enjoy Mockingjay and the trilogy in general. So yeah, it's very highly recommended if you read the first 2 books and for some crazy reason are not sure if you want to continue. And yeah, that's about it. I believe. Next up will either be One Piece volumes 1 through 60 reviewed, or the Millennium Trilogy with starting with the girl with the dragon tattoo. So just wait till the end of the video and you will see which one is coming next week. And it should be One Piece though, because my friend is sending them this week as of June 9th, so, or July 9th. So yeah, that's what you have to expect. So yeah, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe if you so choose. That would be awesome. And click up here for the trilogy review. That's where you can leave spoilers, where we can discuss stuff and whatnot. And things, stuff, words, and author reviews will be posted at the top of that too. So yeah, that's about it. My name is, as always, Nick Pell. May the odds be ever in your favor once more. And as always, keep on reading.